Hello all, welcome to the Lunar Sea Spire Cartoon Fan Podcast. This is episode 323, and today we'll be talking about Obsidian from Adventure Time Distant Lands. I'm GC13.
And I'm David. Who-wee.
Yeah.
This was amazing. Oh.
You tell me, hey, it's going to be a Marceline and Bubblegum episode, and I'm immediately like, that's going to be my favorite. Followed, of course, closely by Peppermint Butler's episode, but that one hasn't happened yet, so this one is my favorite so far.
Yeah, easily for me. I mean, I think BMO was a lot of fun, but Obsidian gives you everything that you like about Adventure Time. It gives you some of the best characters, or, I think some people are like Glass Boy, maybe Marceline is the favorite, and you get lore that I think BMO actually leans surprisingly harder into the lore than I was expecting it to, but this is a lot more meaningful because it's not just lore for lore's sake, right? The depth, additional depth it gives to Marceline and Bubblegum is important, but especially on Marceline's side, we just get to dig farther into her tragic life.
You want to talk about additional depth to Marceline and Bubblegum? I never realized that t-shirt that she gave her, I never realized that we didn't know the specific provenance of that, so it was very cool to see, so this is where Marceline gave her the shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it never actually occurred to me that it was her playing in a band. Like, whenever we saw, Princess Bubblegum obsessively sniffing that shirt, which, by the way, is the thickest subtext that has ever existed in a show that otherwise, I guess felt like it had other, unfortunate limitations, and yet she really loved smelling that shirt. But it just seemed more like this is the shirt that my girlfriend also owned, or something, right? Like, yeah. I didn't think it was actually thrown at the concert, which is its own cute little thing. And I like that they wrapped up, this whole movie episode that way. But man, they we get here their fallout, and it skips most of the actual arguments, but I think you pretty much know what brings them to this point, right? Because we know who Marceline is, and we know who Princess Bubblegum is, or at least what they both were. I think we've seen more of past Bubblegum, and sort of the criticisms that Marceline has make at least more sense to me. Calling her a dictator, her obsession with ruling the Candy Kingdom and building it and trying to help people in a way that seems more selfish than selfless. But, man, Marceline is also just a very, annoying 1,000-year-old teenager.
An angry young punk.
Yeah, she's just an angry punk. But, she's super scarred, and especially like in the monster lyrics when she describes both of them as, kids who were messed up and raised themselves, pretty much sums it up. Although Bubblegum's is much stranger, because then she made her own family, and then that family didn't work out. Oh well.
I mean, there's just amethyst all over this episode, in the audio, and then in the kindergarten aspect.
Yeah. Well, and literally, amethyst is in this episode.
Then the imperfection, like I said, in the audio. Good God, I was watching the episode, and the whole time I'm like, man, he really sounds like Amethyst, and I had to check, and sure enough, it's Michaela Dietz.
Of course. It didn't hit me immediately, but actually watching it the second time, once I knew, I actually had to work to not hear Amethyst, because the first time I heard it, it's actually, like, she's putting on a voice that sounds more, like, boyish and more, like, I don't know. Amethyst is pretty excitable, but he's more so. He's more young and silly, and I think it's a pretty good differentiation anyway. Like, it's not just, it's Amethyst's voice, and that's the only voice she can do. But it is that signature, raspy, amazing performance.
Not everyone can be Mark Hamill.
Not everyone can be Rebecca Sugar either. I think that it was a little sad to meet Marcy's mom again, and it not to be voiced by Rebecca. That was so special when she was there to sing Everything Stays. After hearing Everything Stays, but I didn't actually look up the actor for Marceline's mom in this one. She did a pretty good job at emulating the voice, and I think that if you weren't such a attentive viewer, you might not have noticed. The attendants were all people I recognized.
Oh yeah, they all sounded so annoying.
Oh, it was beautiful.
But, they're supposed to.
Yeah. But one of them was like, I recognized them from Legend of Korra. I don't know if it was the announcer guy. I think that probably was it. And then the other two. Actually, I don't know who I don't know. It's like she's always standing in the middle, so I think of her as the middle one. But the one who was doing the heavy Valley Girls, voice. Which, by the way, that line close to the middle of the episode where she says, "It's our perfect civilization." Like, holy crap. Was that intentional? That was so good.
I liked Finn just showing up at the end.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the internet broke with that, and I think that the best thing they're doing with that is hyping up clearly it's a pattern with BMO that they're, surprising us. Ooh, it's at a different point in the timeline than you were thinking of, and ooh, where's Jake? We've now seen them at the end twice, so I'm assuming that's going to happen again in the Pet Bud episode, so that we can feel really, heartbroken when our final episode comes out, and we get whatever heartbreaking story we're going to get about Finn and Jake, because it kind of looks like with Finn's tattoo that Jake met his dreams, and what was what is that dream called?
Oh, the darn it, I can't remember now.
It has a name.
Croak Dream.
It's Croak Dream.
Croak Dream. As for more fun, amusing things, I liked that instead of calling them guards, they call them shards. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, there was a few. I kept thinking that when Glass Boy hits the high note and breaks the attendants' heads, I kept thinking that STP was saying shots. Like, everybody take a shot.
Shots!
I thought that's what she said, but she was saying shards. And I did not catch that because of the
party,
accent.
And you were all invited.
I just really thought that she was like, all right, guys, every time someone's head explodes when Glass Boy sings, take a shot.
Either that or she's a big Private Party fan. One of the two.
One of the two.
I love, though, that they were kind enough to include symbolism so obvious in this episode, even I was able to catch it. I thought that was really nice of them.
Yes, there's a lot of obvious parallels between what's going on in the present.
Marceline and Larvo.
And yeah, what happened with both Marceline and Bubblegum, but even also reflections of Marceline getting called monster trash, and then also being, explicitly feeling like a monster because, well, she kind of is one a little bit. I mean, She's a demon. Depends on what your classification system is, but, she thought she scared her mom away.
So I do have, though, a couple questions related to this symbolism. So, the dragon is a monster because of its pain physically, and Marceline was a monster because of her pain emotionally. But, Marceline just eventually kind of bears her soul rather than keeping everything bottled up, and that causes her to, go soft and live a happier life. But when the monster uncovers the thing, when he uncovers his injury, he, literally metamorphosizes into this soft, fuzzy little flying cat creature thing. And it's that is the most Adventure Time thing ever, isn't it?
Oh, just the fact that we even got a monster flashback during the monster song. I mean, okay, first of all, I'm pretty sure that the character designer for, some corrupted gem worked on the undersea creature that attacked our monster. Because just that boxy design looked so close. But man, there just that weird, it had that ephemeral nature of being wavy underwater and dreamy, but it was for the monster. It's just so great that we got to see him hanging out with his little fam, and then his whole fam gets eaten, and then he, covers up his injury. That was so Adventure Timey and so great.
I do wonder, though, how Marceline's song was able to defeat it the first time. It looked like he was being physically intimidated by meeting someone even angrier than he was. Is that what you got out of the scene?
Honestly, it feels kind of like a fluke that, it was quote unquote defeated the first time. It just kind of backed away from intimidation And it wasn't even that long of a period of intimidation. It's just like, this pain is going to overwhelm yours, so back up, buddy.
Because the second time I watched it, it's like, okay, so Marceline is even angrier than him. Maybe that's why he's backing up. But both times I watched the episode, I'm sitting here thinking, is this related to when she asks Glass Boy, ugh, is that really what I sound like? Like, is he repulsed by the thought that he's as angry and annoying and whiny as Marceline?
I like that theory. I mean, clearly we're meant to see that and think, the monster's like, damn, I'm not even being as cold as this chick to that bubblegum lady over there, who caused more destruction, right?
Yeah, that was like the first thing I thought was like, is he just allergic to drama? He's like, ooh boy, I don't want any of this. In which case, Lumpy Space Princess would have been the best person to save them from Larvo the second time, if he's really averse to drama.
Maybe. There's also something going on with the episode doesn't focus on it too much, but the fact that Larvo's hanging out in a lava pit that was at one point, when Glass Boy first goes in, you see that there's like a ton of infrastructure, devices, things. I mean, clearly there's already a pulley system for healing. Like, they had this whole thing set up, and then Larvo interrupted it.
Yeah, he had that in his book. That used to be what they used it for.
But the episode ends not with everybody now able to use it. They just embrace the cracks. So there's something there saying that it's some kind of inversion on the expectation that, I mean, when the story starts, you're almost thinking, oh, there is no dragon. Glass Boy is right. It's like nobody will listen to Glass Boy, but actually the monster was defeated and we could all go heal ourselves. But no, that wasn't the case. And also, apparently, we don't need to heal ourselves.
No, with the cracks thing, that was another one of those, like, incredibly unsubtle things. Like, I was almost expecting, like, do you want to know more? As everyone's revealing that they're cracked, and the people are like, oh, nope, you're cracked, you can't be leader anymore. We're the most cracked of them all. It's like, that's...
And their designs are so goofily... Like, you should have known from the beginning, looking at those ribbons, that they were hiding cracks themselves. I thought that was great.
Well, they looked like actual clothing, so I'll give them that. But yeah, it's like...
It was well disguised.
This is pretty thickly political. Like, it's almost to the point, are we sure Rebecca Sugar doesn't have a secret writing credit on this one? Adam Muto, her old storyboard partner, was on this. So
again, we can look at it deeply, and we can say, man, this crack metaphor is so great. Or we can just enjoy when the characters say things like, "I'm gonna chip you up," which made me die when Marceline shatters that one guard's head.
Stop chipping my cups.
Which also, I was so confused. Did she just chip his outer shell? Like, is that like an outfit he was wearing, or like, do these glass things have weird lumps in the middle? Because they're transparent, so we would see if they had, like, he had such a weird small head, but it didn't look opaque, or it did look opaque. It didn't look transparent.
I don't
know.
I don't know, but he messed with P-Bubs, and you don't mess with P-Bubs in front of Marcy.
Yeah, apparently not. Marcy will just shatter you.
Out of the way, Blue Diamond. There's a new Shatterer in town.
Exactly. What did you think about PB's wanting to be recognized plot? Did that mean anything in this episode? I mean, we have that kind of established character trait about her, but I just didn't know how much it really played in. I feel like Marceline was definitely taking the spotlight here as far as the tortured past and everything. And we know that PB wants to be loved and all, but I don't know. It just kind of didn't get resolved.
Yeah, I don't think that ties into the rest of it, at least not in ways that I was able to pick up on.
Like, she gets a moment where she figures out she can shoot root beer instead of fart jelly beans from her hands, and that ends up failing. And then she never really succeeds, except, I mean, she does do the kiss at the end, and sort of takes the lead there.
I mean, she learns not to add a full blast setting to her next force field model, so there's that.
There is that. You can't be so overzealous. Oh. So I know that you're avoiding talking about the sad things. Let's talk about the sad things a little bit.
Why do we have to be sad? There were no flashbacks to Marceline's youth in this episode. What are you talking about?
Man, Marceline's youth. I have always loved the way that the apocalypse happened in Adventure Time. I think it's one of the most fascinating, like, this show's combination of fantasy and sci-fi, at least with the timeline they have set up and with the parallel worlds and so many, just huge spanning characters. It's a little secret. I almost like it a little more than even Steven Universe's setup, just because we've gotten to see so much of it. Like, we know that Steven Universe's timeline is 20,000 years long and some mysterious diamond things happened in the past and they've been alive for a long time. But Adventure Time's world is just so cool because we've seen what the distant past was like and that there was no magic in the middle, and then it's magical again, and then also the Candy Kingdom's destroyed another 1,000 years in the future. It's very cool. But this period where it's our world and it is devastated and it is bad, and like the mutant monsters that appear are not cute candy beasts. They are weird wolves. I mean, okay, there is like a golden scorpion with an S chain, and I don't know what that's about. And that's fantastic.
I know Ian Jones Cordy loves those S's, so maybe they called him up and asked him, "Hey man, is there anything you want us to put into this one?" And he's like, "Get the S's in, man."
It just draws that S. And
they did him a solid.
Those wolves, like, it was the perfect combination of they draw it super scary, grotesque, and yet the baby, its catchphrase is, "What's up?" even though the mother's super threatening. And I like that we also got a little bit of light into Marceline was fully aware of her demonness as a child, and it actually played a significant role in how she felt about herself. And of course, we saw that it played into her tragically thinking that it caused her mom to leave her instead of just straight up dying.
So what killed everyone at the secret clubhouse party bunker? What was like the bunker door open when the blast came, and that's why everyone is skeletonized in place rather than like curling up in balls and dying of radiation poisoning, or what?
I do have some concern that, even though I just said I love the timeline a lot in Adventure Time, I do think that it's not... I'm sure there could be some staff members and it's completely thought out and they know the exact timeline, but from my perspective, I feel like there's a little bit of mushy-gushiness. Because when we saw Simon, first revealed as Simon in the tapes in the Christmas special, and he's talking and he's found the crown, and then, he gets older and it becomes colder outside and there's maybe some planes flying in the background, he never, experiences a straight-up explosion, and it kind of seems like the Great Mushroom War, it's always described as a war, but it always feels like it was just one giant explosion. I guess, though, it wasn't, and it must have been that there was some amount of time. It just feels like there was very little time between, Marceline being born and Simon getting the crown, and then his descent into being somewhat the Ice King, and then he finds Marceline after she dies. There's only a few years there, and yet it wiped out humanity super significantly, and these people had enough time to build a bunker, live in the bunker, and then die once there was a big enough explosion, the one that probably caused the giant, hole in the earth. I don't know, there's only a few years in there, and I'm not sure about it. It's just Marceline and her mom are super isolated, so maybe something very recently happened and this is just the results after, but everything's just so desolated. It's kind of hard. It feels like it's 20 years after an apocalypse, not a few months, but maybe that's how the Mushroom War was.
I mean, I want to know, how did she know exactly where the bunker was and have a key card to it? It's like she's from the bunker, but in that case, why was she not there?
I don't know.
Was that Hudson Abadir's doing?
And that part, they've left that so sublime, haven't they? That they refuse to tell us about. Why on earth, how on earth the literal Satan of this universe met her. I don't know.
The sweetest woman in the world.
Yeah, how? I mean, we've seen this.
Maybe that's why he sought her out, because she is his perfect opposite.
I just really hope it wasn't a Zeus situation. You know what I'm saying? It just I don't know. He's a bad dude.
I don't know. She would be the only person who would show him honest compassion. I think he would respect that.
Yeah. I don't know. We've seen weird births in this show, though. Remember how Jake's dad spawned Jake out of his head from an alien? I mean, weird things can happen in this universe.
Okay, now that is some Zeus stuff right there, spawning a child out of your head.
Right, something weird could have happened from good old Satan.
But, obviously she was at the bunker and trekked away from it because she knew all the landmarks to get there.
Right, I don't
know.
We see that there was, like, a time period, though, because, look at the gas station. It's covered in markings that say things like, gas for meat. So there was an active gas for meat exchange. Also, someone had enough time to go through a crisis of, what happens after nihilism? Because it says, after nihilism, ? Which that is the best background detail of this episode, by far, in my book. Just whoever came up with that. I did see on Reddit, someone pointed out at the very start of the episode, the one warhead or, nuclear bomb that said gone fission on it, which I'll say is a close second as far as puns go. But after nihilism, it's a fantastic, I really don't know what's happened on this planet question. But yeah, so clearly there were humans, like everyone didn't just die. There was an active war and apocalypse happening where things got pretty bad. Either that or maybe those were the people living for the past few years after, everything kind of got blown up. I don't know. But like compared to the gas station where it wasn't completely obliterated, you got to think there was some kind of active radiation, not just fiery explosion force that killed all the people in that bunker. And I'm not sure how, again, you could go crazy with theories. Did Marceline and her mom survive because they were in the Nightosphere for some amount of time? That would help you escape the apocalypse.
Perhaps. That would make sense.
Because there's very few humans. I guess they've never even talked about how the humans from islands survived, right? The ones that migrated to the island?
Yeah, because they were away from the island for a while. They didn't start out isolated. They started out on the mainland.
Right. There was just a group of humans that eventually escaped. But, I guess they were somewhere very different from where Marceline was.
Yeah. I've been watching She-Ra and the Princesses of Power again, and you were talking about some things in Adventure Time have been left sublime, unexplained. There are so many things in the backstory in She-Ra that are left completely unexplained, as we have discussed in the past. And it's, come on, guys, like, you gotta publish, like, your series Bible. I need to know these things.
Yeah, or publish, your last art book, and then just show that you have a timeline, and show that you have what happened 20,000 years ago with the diamonds, and say you were going to make a 4-part episode where Steven goes into space and finds out about the origin of the diamonds, but then don't do it.
But we're not going to tell you.
And make us hate Cartoon Network or hate somebody.
Because at least like when the Fallout games got canceled, they released the series Bible, so we got to learn a whole lot about the world as envisioned by its creators. I'm just saying.
At least with Adventure Time, it just feels like, the show can keep going. They could always put out another special at this point, so there's always hope. But I think what we learned about Marceline and Bubblegum is what I think they always wanted to tell in the actual show. I don't think they ever planned to talk about what happened with Marceline's mom and Abadir. I think, in fact, it might not even be concrete. There might have been writers' room discussions, but I bet that there are several storyboarders with different ideas of what actually happened.
Much like the people who say, oh yeah, Lars can't eat now. Like, that's one storyboarder's opinion. The other storyboarder from that episode disagrees vehemently. So
that's the beautiful thing about when episodes don't exist, is that canon is only as good as, different people's voices from a writer's room, because it turns out these worlds actually don't exist, even though they've convinced us that they do. It's crazy, I know.
No. My Watsonian persona requires that this be a real world that we can explore.
There is maybe the scientific possibility that everything we've ever imagined is real, but that's also heartbreaking. And, for some of the people that tell really sad stories.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's better that not everything be real.
Including my main man, Choose Goose, who came back. I wish Choose Goose was real.
Just
his
completely at random.
Oh, and his illegal moisturizer. Oh man, that dude could be paid. If there was like a good Adventure Time game, he would be saying little quotes in all the loading screens in between. I wish that we had that. I wish we had more choose freaking goose.
Well, unfortunately, loading screens are about to be a thing of the past, David.
I
so
know.
they're going to have to work him in somewhere else.
The brand new invention of SSDs is allowing games to finally not have loading screens. It's amazing we just came up with that technology, and we're finally going to use it.
Yep, just now. Just now they came out. Wonderful.
Choose Goose came in at the wrong time for that. I do like, there's honestly a lack of other, I think they threw in Choose Goose because they didn't really have any other opportunities for other types of characters. It's very focused on Marceline, and so there wasn't going to be any other fun, goofy characters we know.
Yeah, Choose Goose was like clear nostalgia pop bait.
Absolutely. And it wouldn't have really fit for like the apocalypse that Marceline is experiencing at 4 years old, or however old she is not one where we could see any proto characters wandering around yet. It is just hardcore, desolate, and scary. So I'm, glad they only decided to break the tragedy in the present with Glass Boy coming in and, wiping away all our tears.
I think it is weird, though, the way they transition from Marceline being like, I'm not sure I really want to go, to, you're too late, Marceline already left. It's like, really? It's like they made a decision when the camera wasn't on them? What?
I don't know.
I mean, that felt very odd to me. That's like the only thing that really jumps out as, I think that was a mistake that they made. I really do.
I mean, could be. I don't know what the timeline for these episodes were, but honestly, everything else feels so high production, so well paid attention to. I don't know.
I think they were going for something that just did not land with me at all. But, let me tell you though, this is the kind of episode that is really annoying to watch with a certain kind of person who, like at the very beginning, it's like, who are these people? What are they doing? It's like, I don't know. Watch the episode with me. I've never seen these people before.
Oh, I think those...
You're seeing it as you were intended to.
If that, are you describing an actual situation that happened, GC? That's great. Those people, though...
it happens all the time.
Those people ask those questions anyway. Like, if I watch a show with my mom, she's asking, who's that? And I don't know.
You'll find out later.
I don't know either. We're still watching.
His identity will be revealed by his actions.
So someone whose actions elude me a bit are Simon's. We do get Simon back in this episode, and Simon is more tortured by his history of having been the Ice King than I guess I would have thought. I don't know, if you'd asked me, what is Simon doing now that he doesn't have Betty, but he is his own man? I don't know, he's a man of science, he likes Marceline, but that's about his only real connection to the world, unless he has a pretty extensive memory of being Ice King, in which case he might have some affinity for Finn and Jake, but I don't know, maybe he wants to go explore the crazy, mythical, magical world, I don't know, but instead, no, he's playing the same song that broke our hearts so many years ago at open mic nights, and dressing up as the Ice King still. There's a lot going on there that I want to see unpacked in its own episode that we're not ever gonna get.
But hey, he was able to rally Finn and the Banana Guards, so he's got a posse on speed dial.
Those guys were looking pretty incompetent at that point.
Classic Banana Guard.
I wonder if Finn's always that laid back about things these days. Post Jake's croak. I don't know. I don't know if that's suggestive of anything that he's. I mean, we definitely saw by the end of Adventure Time that he had really let go of his fighter, spirit. His hero spirit was much more aligned with diplomacy and peace and talking. So maybe that's where he's landed and why he comes only bearing a towel and not a sword or sword arm or anything.
Princess Bubblegum can shoot root beer. Maybe he needs to clean a spill up. You never know.
He's just there to wipe up after. That's something. Yeah, so Simon is not doing great, and I find it interesting that they just gave us that one snapshot. And is that going to be the last snapshot we ever see of Simon? I don't know how much work they're going to do in that final Finn and Jake episode to really, include everyone again. They already had an actual finale, so there's our little view. That's what Simon does.
There are few characters that are more important to Finn and Jake than Ice King, so I would hope that if they feel he needs resolution, that he would get it there.
One thing I am wondering, though, is people were looking at Simon and looking at Finn and thinking, okay, Finn's young, and it makes sense that he's visually aged a lot more. Is Simon just accidentally doesn't look like he aged because he's older, or is this dude actually immortal? And I don't think he's supposed to be immortal because we see the Evergreen spirit in whatever, I don't remember if it was a Grable or whatever gave us a vision of the future again, 1,000 years in the future. We saw that the Evergreen beast is still trucking after 1,000 years. But is Simon going to be? Is he going to die a natural death? I mean, I guess he could always be just killed instead of dying of age, but I did think it was a little weird that they decided to just go ahead and throw in immortality for him since, every other character on the show is either immortal or not. might as well give him immortality.
He might just be living really clean. You never know.
Living clean. Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember what Betty's wish was and if that would actually influence him never dying. Oh, yeah. Did they release these songs yet on streaming platforms yet or for purchase? Because they were all bangers.
Let's check Spotify. Yes, we have It's Funny, Woke Up, Red Light, See Through, Monster, and Eternity with You. Not bad.
I mean, they're great last songs if those are truly now the last songs we ever get from Marceline. I'm going to miss Olivia Olson playing her, and she's always had the best songs in Adventure Time if they weren't, the Rebecca Sugar written songs.
And hey, she can never help it if she makes a scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, that's been us on Obsidian. Join us next week. Until then, I'm GC13.
And I'm David. Don't forget to leave us a review anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Later, everybody. Our opening and closing music is by Mark Soto. For more cartoon-related content, please visit lunarseaspire.com.